We left off talking about one of the best episodes in the entire series and my all-time new favorite episode in Bluey Cricket. An episode filled to the brim with a motivational story of perseverance.
Rusty didn't want to give up.
Emotional messages in multiple different scenes and ways.
I got it! Oh, you got me!
As well as long anticipated information revealed for a fan favorite character in the community, Rusty. Because of this amazing cocktail of writing and animation, this episode has phenomenal pacing. So much so that a lot of details within this episode is often overlooked because there is just a ton of stuff happening on the screen at every second, not to mention new key information being fed to us for Rusty's family and his past. So when watching this episode on a second or even further watch, you start to notice a ton of different hidden details within. I started talking about Bluey due to my history of working with kids in a therapeutic setting, which has of course inspired me to start this series. And these details range from being just cool features to being details that expand on the emotional impact seen in other episodes in regards to certain behaviors that Rusty is seen doing in those mentioned episodes. You can probably guess which one of those I'm most excited to talk about. I highly recommend anyone who is watching to get caught up with my last video discussing why this episode is considered to be a masterpiece. In that video I talked about a ton of awesome details that I'm going to try my best not to rehash here, but before we get into the bowlers of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You have no idea how much helps me out to get these videos out to more fans like you, and let's talk about all the little things that make cricket so special.
Hey Rusty, you're back mate!
Tell you what, we'll get Rusty out and then play Tiggy.
You'll never get Rusty out.
Now what we didn't know was that Rusty loved cricket. He'd play all day with his brother and sister, and when they weren't around, he'd play by himself. I had no chance.
Yeah, Rusty!
That's it. Time for a pace attack.
Lucky's dad had no chance.
Oh!
Yeah!
Dad, we're dog!
Lunchtime!
Nah, hang on. Rusty, one more?
Okay.
Rusty would have played 50 more.
What a shot.
He just loved cricket.
I told you wouldn't get Rusty out.
I want to start off talking about a detail that I, someone who doesn't watch the sport cricket,
He's watching the cricket!
would have never gotten, which is the appearance of Rusty going onto the field alone near the end of the episode. Thanks to the YouTube user Kevin Quinn, I now know that him going out alone signifies something huge that gave me chills when I read Kevin's comment. Many people have noticed that Rusty is entering the field in professional Australian uniform, showing us that he is playing on the professional level for Australia itself. However, what makes this so crazy is the fact that this uniform actually means that he's going in a test match, which is a dream of many Australian children growing up.
Wow.
A test match, to best explain it, is a first-class international match where different countries compete. It lasts up to 7 hours per day, and one match can be 5 days long.
Oh man, I need the toilet.
This is considered to be the highest level of international competition of the sport, and I absolutely love this distinction because thanks to the Twitter, I now know that this episode was aired on the same day as the 2023 World Test Championship final between Australia and India, clearly showing that the writers wanted to make this connection. Despite the name Test Cricket, it's not a test at all. It's actually considered to be one of the biggest deals in the sport, and some consider it to be the ultimate gauge of a batsman's talent.
Yeah!
Because of how long these matches last. Not only that, but him walking out alone means that he isn't the opening batsman. The importance behind this is the fact that the batsman who comes when the opener is dismissed is the place usually reserved for the best player in the team, which is just incredible. Rusty is not only playing for one of the most important matches for Australia, his home country, but also representing as the best player on the entire team. It makes me feel extremely satisfied knowing that Rusty is still the best of the best years later.
Yeah, Rusty!
And really makes all the practice we see him doing during the episode that much sweeter, and we can even see Jack being dedicated to Rusty's practice as well, since if you have a keen eye, you can even see that he practices hours on end for days with his best friend, because in between Jack's bowls, the sky changes from day, dusk, and day again. I really enjoyed that small detail with their friendship since it shows how close the two are, since neither of them wanted to give up until Rusty mastered his ability to hit unpredictable bowls.
How did he hit that? that?
With the scene that we get between the two, we also finally get to see Jack's house as well as Rusty's house earlier in the episode. But what I find to be refreshing is the houses themselves. Both houses feel a little bit more modest to what we're used to seeing within the show, especially compared to the Healer's house, Uncle Stripe's house, Wendy's, and even Frank's house. Now, I'm not suggesting any particular character is rich or in a lower class, besides maybe Frank, because just look at his extremely modern house. I mean, some people even suggest Frank works as an architect because of how nice of a house he has, as well as his workstation having a drafting table, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. However, when looking at the houses I listed and then looking back at Jack's and Rusty's, it's a little noticeable that the artist wanted to include a different setting to allow families with different living conditions to feel more seen. For Jack's case, it's nothing too crazy. The yard is decently big, however, it's one of the few houses we see in the entire series without a second floor, and looks a fair bit small. And you could connect the dots if you'd like, with Jack using a stick and a cardboard box as a wicket instead of proper equipment, but I feel like that's more or less because it's scrounged up items they found so they can play as opposed to anything else, since it's not like kids don't use their imagination for items in other episodes.
These can be the kitten treats.
The prime example, however, is Rusty's house. Because of the flashback scenes we get for Rusty's love of cricket, we luckily get to see a couple different angles and parts of the outside of his house. And we can notice small unkempt parts, such as having a dirt driveway, the grass and the cement, the stains or maybe even damage on the walls, as well as the oldish utility equipments, such as this tank. And I believe this is the first time we've ever seen a windowed air conditioning unit, which happens to also have the reoccurring long dog Easter egg on it. Now gosh, I really need to stress that I don't believe that these small things suggest that Rusty's family is in a bad financial state, because my house is quite honestly like that.
Ah, that's no good.
Since it's always possible that they have an old house like me, but it's clear the animators wanted to showcase a subtle contrast between the other houses we've seen already, and there's a quite literal contrast right from this angle, showing that they have a chain link small fence while their neighbors have big wooden fences. It's small, but I feel like it served its purpose well for what the crew were probably looking to do, to allow relatability via a more modest living condition. And if Rusty's mom is anything like me, unique factors usually get in the way of trying to clean and cook. And there are ways to make these jobs easier, which is why I'm excited to say that this video was sponsored by Factor 75. Factor is a service that sends chef-created meals using fresh ingredients to your doorstep and helps take the stress off of cooking, which helps me especially with my busy schedule of working full-time and editing. Factor even offers different meals to fit your diet if you're looking to follow something keto, low-calorie, vegetarian, as well as vegan. To take some stress off of your life, make sure to use my link down below and use the code FACTORSE37035 to get 50% off your first box. Next, I just want to talk about Rusty's family in general, because I feel like this episode does a really good job at solidifying their family dynamic and helps show why Rusty is such a caring individual. Whenever I think about this topic, it's so hard to fully explain the difference between the wholesome nature of Rusty's family and Bluey's family, because both of them are so caring for everyone, but I feel like Rusty's family has it on a different level as a whole, that hopefully by the end of this discussion it makes more sense, and the majority of these are showcased in Cricket, since that's where we get to see Rusty's family dynamic on full display. To start, I would love to talk about Digger. Digger being the older brother to Rusty, we get to see a display of sibling relationship that we normally don't see showcased in the show, since for Bluey and Bingo, they are just about 2 years apart. But with Digger, the age gap is much bigger, since we know that he is friends with Mia and Captain, both characters that were showcased in the episode where the whole plot point was that they were going to high school soon.
Are you nervous about starting high school? A little.
So that would make them, as well as Digger, around the age of 12 and 14, with Rusty only being 7 years old. With this clear age difference, there's usually two things that happen in real life. A disconnect with the two kids, where the older one feels like it's a burden to have to look after the younger one, which interestingly enough is showcased in media way too often. Or what occurs is a relationship that develops where the eldest feels like they need to look after the youngest,
You can't skid, Stripe.
Bandit, stop teasing Stripe.
more or less to protect them. And this is the type of relationship that we see from Digger, but in a way that's not overbearing at all. Digger allows Rusty to join in on the cricket match with all of his older friends, but when it's Rusty's turn to bat, we can see Digger help putting on the protective equipment onto Rusty to essentially protect him, but we also get this line.
Rusty, you can bat if you want, but no one's got to go easy on you. Understand?
What I really love about this line is that Digger gives the option to Rusty to play despite him possibly getting hurt, because it was Rusty's choice in the first place to bat. With them being close and what was said before,
Sometimes Rusty would play with his older brother's mates. He was never brave enough to bat.
it's possible Digger knew how important this was to Rusty since he was too timid before, and his timidness is even shown subtly with his slow hand raise earlier, so when Digger sees Rusty finally wants to play, he chooses to protect Rusty's pride and respect his choice in spite of him possibly getting harmed.
No one's got to go easy on you.
Which is carrying in a different form. As we all know, Rusty does get hurt from Tiny's bull, which results in him limping home. But during this scene, you can see Digger looking back at his brother to see if he's okay, showing that he cares for him without directly influencing anything, once again letting Rusty do it on his own, respecting his choice and protecting his pride. Digger is protective of his brother but still allows Rusty to make his own choices even with his final line.
Maybe wait till you're a bit older.
He's not inherently discouraging Rusty here, because if that was the case, he would have never allowed him to continue stepping up the bat against Tiny in later scenes. Digger is just showing his compassion for Rusty's well-being. Eventually we go on to Rusty's dad's letter, and when they are finished reading it, both Digger and his mom look at Rusty's glowing face because they all know how much Rusty's dad means to him. Regrettably, we don't get a lot to talk about for Rusty's mom besides this letter scene and her small loving caress of Dusty, but for me it's obvious she has the family trait of the Kelpies of being extremely caring. For Rusty's dad, his love and care is shown in the letter, albeit we don't get to hear the entire letter, but where it starts we get to hear it address Digger in particular.
You thought Christmas up north was hot. You should try over here.
And then there's a entirely different page directly addressed to Rusty.
Dad's letter has a PS for you.
Showing how connected he tries to be with his kids even when he's away.
Is he on patrol like us? Yeah, but not for long.
And I even think his job is a reflection of this caring nature. It can be sometimes understated the importance and sacrifice those within the service do on the daily, because at the end of the day, some of these individuals care about the preservation of their nation and most importantly, protecting the future for their family.
All the other soldiers are counting on you.
And we all know how much Rusty takes after his dad in this role, with episodes such as Army and Helicopters, as well as the camo face paint in Curry Quest, but we even see a subtle nod to Rusty's interest in his father's role in the Army, with a small scribble of a helicopter on the desk here in this episode. In fact, a lot of the time we see Rusty reference the Army, he usually includes helicopters.
You need to know these things if we call for a dust-off. A dust-off is when you call in a helicopter to come and rescue you.
Because of this, I decided to do some research to see if it's possible at all if Rusty's dad's role has anything to do with flying the helicopters, since Rusty seems so interested in this. But to make a long story short, after 3 hours of personal research and talks with 2 of my buddies in the community, Meme Machine and Jonathan, that knew some cool knowledge about Australian Army stuff,
How do you know so much about the Army?
the results were indecisive. We simply don't have enough evidence to support my theory. Kind of a bummer, since it would have been an awesome connection, especially since I thought the helicopter in the background here was a hint to this. But whether you choose to believe this idea or not, Rusty's connection to his family as a whole is still extremely telling for his character, because of him inheriting the family's quality of being extremely caring in his own special way. As we all know, Rusty is an incredibly kind soul to everyone he meets, and especially to his little sister Dusty. During the present day time, Rusty spends a couple key moments making sure Dusty is ready to get a catch by positioning her hands in a proper way before he goes to bat, and purposely losing to his sister near the end of the episode by hitting the ball towards her to accomplish the goal that Dusty has been wanting to do all the way back during the first flashback scene.
Can you hit me a catch?
And even more or less hamming it up to Dusty on one-upping her brother.
I got you out! I know! I can't believe it! What a catch!
What I really love about the interactions we get here is that his wholesome relationship he has with his sister explains why Rusty was able to play such a good father role in the episode Moms and Dads for the doll Polly, since he probably gained experience taking care of his sister when she was younger, which makes me appreciate the episode as a whole a lot more. And since we're on the topic, the small interaction in that episode when he tells Indy,
Mums don't go to work. Yes, they do. No, they stay at home and look after kids.
fits perfectly into what we know Rusty's family dynamic is like. If we want to take it a step further, Rusty has a small, tender, subtle moment with him and another younger girl around the age of Dusty during the episode Handstands, where when looking for his football, he gets interrupted by a toy car Missy was playing with the entire episode, and immediately plays with her, gaining a smile on his face. This kindness isn't something that is exclusive to people younger to him either. He shows genuine concern for Mackenzie during the episode Space when Mackenzie was dealing with his periods of anxiety, and even though he is confused,
Are you sure?
respects the decisions
sure.
Mackenzie makes to explore into the black hole, in a similar way to how Digger respects Rusty's personal decisions.
Rusty, you can bat if you want, but no one's got to go easy on you. Understand?
There are plenty more moments like these for Rusty's characters, so feel free to share your favorite down in the comments down below, but I think a shining example is his first interactions with Jack in the episode Army when Jack asks to play.
Can I be in the army? Well, maybe. Can you do as you're told?
During this question, Jack immediately looks defeated, knowing his self-history of not being able to do so.
Why can't you do as you're told? I don't know.
And Rusty notices this change and immediately springs into action as a drill sergeant to help Jack.
Hup, hup, salute! Yeah, you can play.
Throughout the episode, Rusty keeps a close eye on Jack, like during the push-up exercises, shows patience with Jack's difficulty in remembering things by allowing Jack to slowly remember the name for the tree,
Tango 7!
and demonstrates compassion when asking Jack why he moved to Calypso School,
Was there something wrong with your old school?
with Jack showcasing his low self-image in himself again.
There's something going on with me. I'm not good at doing what I'm told. I can't sit still. And I can't remember anything.
And after a brief pause, as they look into the distance, Rusty cheers him up by telling him,
Well, you're really good at playing army.
as Jack smiles, probably remembering how he was able to do everything he didn't expect from himself. He was able to do what he was told, he was able to sit still, and he was able to remember everything through the game he played with Rusty.
Great work, Recruit Russell!
Joe Brumm, the writer and creator of Bluey, obviously spent a lot of time trying to make each and every single character in the family caring in their own special way. And I believe it's largely in part of him wanting to create this story for so long, since in my last video I mentioned how they've been working on this episode all the way back in season 1. And moreover, Rusty was originally going to be the main character, so this family dynamic must have been thought of for a very long time, which would explain why we see Rusty's unique mindset within Moms and Dad, an episode all the way back in season 1, not to mention every other episode. Now that I got all the major talking points out of the way, I think it's time to go into a lightning round style and just point out a bunch of the other awesome details in this episode. The park they're playing in, I might pronounce this wrong, is Whittonga Park, which is a park in Brisbane, Australia. As you can see, here's from the real life Bluey location's Instagram. Follow that if you have not, it's amazing. When the family is all playing beach cricket, as Dusty throws the cricket ball back to her family, it falls short, but Digger celebrates anyway, which is extremely wholesome. The professional arena Rusty goes into is based on the Stadium Gabba in Brisbane. There's reoccurring tennis ball Easter eggs all over this episode, since they use tennis balls when playing cricket majority of the time. The helicopter behind Rusty's dad is a Black Hawk based on the color and the number of wheels. YouTube user Alpha Omega pointed out that Tiny has a small Easter egg in his design, with the white mark on his snout resembling the sunscreen that cricket players put on their nose. Each member of the Kelpie family has a unique chest mark, and I honestly love that Dusty's is just a small little dot compared to everyone else's sharp or wavy designs. Digger's name is slang term for infantry soldiers from Australia and New Zealand. Side note, but I love how perfect of a transition this is of Bandit and Digger running. This is going to be one that might blow a lot of people's mind, but I feel like it's kind of more or less common knowledge now. But Rusty's dad's voice actor,
keep your eye on the ball,
is none other than the Blue Wiggle himself, Anthony Field, who has served in the Australian military as well. And after a bit of research, I was surprised to find out that he also voices Posty in the episode Dance Mode.
How can I help?
If you listen really closely to Tiny's voice,
Whose bat is it?
he has a subcontinental accent seen in countries where cricket is huge, such as India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Thanks to user Alpha Omega for telling me that. And finally, when Rusty finally hits the balls from Tiny, we can see Tiny celebrate for Rusty here, which is so extremely heartwarming. To be completely honest, there is a lot more I could say with just cricket references alone. However, I don't know a lot about cricket, so I feel like I would probably do an injustice if I tried to explain what 4 bits and pies mean.
4 bits! I've had enough of your pies.
But feel free to tell me all those juicy details down below and any detail that I missed, since I'm sure there's going to be something since this episode is just so dense with them. But all of these things is what makes this episode so special. There's just so much love and passion put into Bluey and the creators, and it really does feel like they put in the extra effort to make this episode as special as it is. Please join me next time as we continue to discuss everything Bluey, and I have a couple different videos currently in the works, so make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss or air any new video that I post. And I want to do just a quick apology for how long this video took to make.
No worries, Buffett.
Originally, this was going to be just something to post quickly after my last video, but after that recent event of me getting hacked, I honestly got into a pretty unproductive state on the YouTube front. It was a very stressful moment for me, and there was about a week and a half of me having to do security maintenance on other accounts that got compromised, including my bank account. But I just have to say thank you to all the people who helped me get this channel back. This channel allows me to connect to a lot of amazing people I met in my life recently, and is a large source of happiness in my life. And it's all because of you buddies, so I truly don't think there's enough words in the dictionary to express how grateful I am to have you buddies. I want to show you this amazing piece of fan art to you that means a lot to me, and it's a representation on the hacking event that the artist Kitten drew with all these different incredible people I met in the Bluey community, essentially protecting me from the hacker, since it was all of you buddies who helped me in the first place when all of this started. I remember all these different people spam messaging YouTube to help me, and honestly it was because of that YouTube is able to get into contact with me so quickly. So this piece being a representation on that means the world to me. And thanks to Kitten for making this for me. There's a few art pieces that I never got to show on this channel, so as in tradition, their Twitter handles will be on the bottom left. And this first one is from Floofy, which is me saying good job buddy to Jack. I love this so much because not only is Jack my favorite character, as everyone already knows, but it kind of more or less represents what I did for my professional career helping kids. So, you know, helping Jack here and just being really kind to him just was a big treat. This next one is from Murphy, and if you guys have been keeping an eye on what I'm wearing, this hoodie is actually what I'm wearing today. I'm gonna zoom out a little, or I guess back up. My voice is gonna get a little bit quieter, so I'm gonna try to shout, but it's literally the same thing I'm wearing right now. And I remember posting that I got this hoodie and how excited I was to have gotten it. So they probably saw that and made this art piece for me with just me saying, hey guys, how do I look, with a Jack pin on there. I really need to get a Jack pin just to mirror this because I think that's adorable, but I just love this so much. Now this next one is from Med. Now I was a bit confused when I got this because I mean, my character even here is confused. It says, what is that thing? And I was asking him, what is that? And they were like, it's a zombie YouTuber. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's just a real fun, silly art piece. I love little things that make me laugh, so this was special for me. And finally, this one is from Glitter. I really enjoy this. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but the palm tree in the background reminds me of home since I am born and raised in Florida. So the palm trees really make me feel like that's an intended piece directly for me. And I just love how unique this is because I've never seen Pugly in this particular angle, so it's really, really awesome. And I love how floppy the ear looks, the color on the nose, as well as just the tuft of hair looking incredible. There's actually a couple different variations you can see here that they made for me, so I really deeply appreciate that. And I was going to make this my Twitter profile pic, but I really get confused when people change their profile pics, so I felt like I was gonna confuse someone if I did that, so I didn't, but I'm still really tempted to use this for my Twitter profile, honestly. Make sure to check out the extremely talented artist down below in the description, and if you'd also like to send me some art as well, make sure to send me a message on my Twitter here, or even just tag me in your post. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of you supporting me to keep making these videos. I feel truly blessed to have so many of you buddies, to all have your own amazing thoughts and perspectives on the show to share, and it's always such a joy to be surrounded by such amazing creative people. And thank you to the members who support me as little as $5 a month. Those members are Mitchell, Rick Iglesias, Clairvoyance, and Zach. And if you'd also like to become a member, make sure to click the link in the top right or in the comments description, and make sure to click the link down below to get that special offer for Factor 75. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on the wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.